Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon, everyone. Let me try and fail to get out of the glare here. There, that's better. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels, and we're going to that horrible world known as the JRC. But just to recap, my morning. The ableist twits have been out and about today, attacking one of the Deb supporters, of course, but you know how the clown circus goes, right? I'm just gonna say this. Keep outing yourselves. Because then I get to block you. And I no longer have to listen to your pure culture, ableistic, garbage takes on the planet. And also, before we move on to the video here, history has proven that millions of people can believe a lie, or a small group of individuals can believe a truth. Just because a lie is popular and everyone agrees with it doesn't make it true. And just in case any of you idiots want to try to argue with me on that one, look up Salem. Look up the witch trials. Pick up literally any part of history. Because I can tell you, usually history does not look kindly upon such behavior. You can choose your friends. You can choose your faith or to have no faith. There's a lot of things you can choose in life, but the few things you can't choose in life is your own facts and your own evidence. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Speaking of individuals who can't choose their own facts or evidence, let's get back to the JRC and the disclaimer, shall we? In the description box, folks, you're going to find a link to the article that the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center doesn't want you to read. It's written by NeuroClastic, a small non-for-profit started by autistics for autistics, wherein they interviewed and surveyed over 900 ABA professionals regards to the JRC's so-called Behavior Modification Program. Matter of fact, the JRC doesn't want you to read this article so much, they have threatened NeuroClastic with a defamation lawsuit if they did not remove it from the website. Well, folks, NeuroClastic has refused, so you know the drill. Please read that article and share it on all your social media. You're also going to find NeuroClastic's statement in regards to the defamation lawsuit threat, as well as a link to their GoFundMe. We are crowdfunding in case the JRC actually tries to see through with that threat. Excuse me, folks, allergies. They've been hitting me hard all day, folks. That's why I waited a little while so that I can, talk clearly without clearing my throat every 5 seconds. But anyways, also included the Ozarks' first article in regards to the Agape boarding school, now known as Stone for Help boarding school situation. This is a so-called Christian-themed boarding school based out of Stockton, Missouri, that takes in so-called troubled male teens, that has impending, folks, over 25 civil lawsuits, claims, and allegations leveled against it, all which have been substantiated by the Missouri Department of Social Services, and they include the following: sodomy, rape, sexual assault, child abuse, psychological and emotional abuse, child trafficking, starvation, and that's just for starters. You have one former staff member arrested by the FBI, another a doctor still on the premises with full access to the boys on multiple, again, substantiated claims of sodomy, rape, and sexual assault of the boys there. You have an attorney general too busy making up lies about drag queens and being obsessed with where people go to the bathroom at, as well as trying to and failing at defunding public libraries to actually protect the kids of the state. And a governor, I don't even know what this, I don't have words for our governor anymore. Just send help. Send help, all right? All right, we got the other pertinent links to the Stop the Shock campaign as well, including Autistic Hoya's massive archive on the subject, Jennifer Masamba's behavioral sheet of shockable offenses, a clip out of the 7-hour ordeal undergone by Andre McCollins back in 2002, the templates, and the ever-present self-explanatory change.org Shut to Judge Rotenberg Center down petition. When we discuss the JRC, folks, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of people with disabilities being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, folks, please use your headphones, all right? This channel is marked not for children for a reason. We use profanity on occasion and we speak on dark subjects. If your child is 16 and younger and they are watching this, very obviously parental supervision is very highly advised, all right? All right, folks, let's get to it, shall we? Trigger warning. We are about to once again descend into the mad ravings of the lunatic mind known as Dr. Matthew Israel. You're going to hear gaslighting, victim blaming, pseudoscience, lies, torture and abuse apologencia, all coming from a man with a massive ego and even larger God complex. So be prepared for the condescending, special level of insane word salad stupid that we are being forced to endure because people still allow this place to exist. All right? Here we go again. Shock is administered remotely by minimally trained staff, some with only 2 weeks of training. This statement is not true. Yes, it is, JRC. You want to know how I know? I've read your handbook. You give your staff 1 week. 1 week of training before you allow them to start interacting with the kids. 2 weeks if you count that they have another staff person just as poorly trained as them to act as supervisor. You do not force them to get any kind of certification of any kind in order to even be able to take such a job. Now let's compare that with other states where you have places that will force you to be in 6 months training before you're even allowed to set 1 foot inside of these type of facilities. This is not rigorous training, folks. You're letting people barely trained interact and work with these kids, a vulnerable population. You like to sit there and cite how violent and out of control these kids are, but you're throwing these people essentially to the wolves if we're to believe your descriptions. Are you kidding me? JRC requires passage of a rigorous training and apprentice program over a minimum of 3 months before a staff member is allowed to use the skin shock device. First of all, we know from the New York report that that's a lie. See, these are the reasons why we don't announce when we do these types of visits, folks. When you're in this particular type of job and you are doing an investigation, the reason why we go in unannounced is because something doesn't give here. If you have the massive level of incidents that are reported at the JRC every year, then you have numerous reels of surveillance footage where you have staff not just using the shock device, but physically assaulting and punching in the face residents. That doesn't sound well trained to me. No. Even when the staff come out of there and said, I just felt like I was out of control in the situation and I just didn't know what to do, means they have received zero, folks. Zero, zilch, nada in crisis control. At all. At all. At all. Fight me on that one. Okay? Do you know the type of rigorous training that has to go into working with a vulnerable population? JRC. Let's rewind this. But 3 months. You give them a week of training and then give them the week supervision of a so-called senior staff who already has drunk your Kool-Aid and agrees with all your nauseating insanity. I do not call that training. I call it indoctrination. Okay? When you have video surveillance footage, not just of the Andre McCollum situation, but of situations inside the residence where staff are physically assaulting the students, and their claim is, I just didn't know what else to do, and it's as numerous as it is. Know what that means? It means your staff is not being properly trained. Even your basic medical assistant in any local ER receives better, longer crisis training and certifications before they start working with that population. I know this because that's what my brother was. It's what mom used to do before she started moving up in healthcare. Okay? She used to work with vulnerable individuals who would go off. Okay? She never had to physically assault them by punching them in the face. All right? So what is it? Are they abusive? Are they not trained well enough? Or is it both? We read your handbook. We read what was found in the New York investigation, which, by the way, folks, is why the JRC doesn't want you reading that report and why they continue to tell you it's lies. The very reason we do those unannounced visits is because, again, so many incidents with that much surveillance footage evidence brings up, again, reasons for concern. If your staff members are regularly assaulting the students, and we are getting doctors' reports from it, we're going to show up. We're going to show up not to read your propaganda, not to take a guided tour. We're there to get to the bottom of what's actually happening. So when New York goes and tells me that these people are not properly trained, they are in no way conceivable ready to be dealing with a vulnerable population, you have to forgive me when I say I side with them. Having seen my mother work in types of places, particularly for those, we're talking 80s here, folks, when they had homes for that sort of thing, never, ever did she had to assault them. Nor did she ever feel a need to handcuff them. You know? Just saying. Now, you're going to tell me that 3 months, none of this in which they are provided any kind of crisis training whatsoever. Nor are they given any type of training in regards to how to respectively treat the individuals with whom they are going to be working is long enough for them to use this device that operates just below the lethal limit. When most people aren't even allowed to set foot within a facility like this without 6 months of training and several certifications at their back. Something to think on, isn't it? A brief description of initial training required before a staff member is qualified to use the GED device is as follows. 3 weeks pre-service training. And you think this is good enough. Each trainee undergoes 3 weeks of paid pre-service training, which includes training in the use of the GED, and the trainee must pass a test on the GED with 100% accuracy on certain questions, with 80% accuracy overall. If the trainee fails the test, he or she is dropped from training. Despite the inclusion of this training in the GED, the trainee is not allowed to use the GED with any student until he or she has undergone further training explained below. Doctor? Doctor. I call you that very loosely. Where in any of that paragraph was mentioned any shape or form of crisis training? Where in any of that psychobabble did you mention anything in regards to training to alternative methods to be used to de-escalate a situation other than going straight to torture? Where in any of that stupid paragraph did you list that they were receiving the proper training needed in order to be able to work with a vulnerable population? Because all I'm seeing here is, well, they learned how to use the machine right. Oh, great. Worries relieved. They know how to properly use my torture device. Whew. Seriously? 3 months training without authorization to use the GED. If the trainee passes the first 3 weeks of training, she must work for an additional 3 months and a minimum of 36 shifts with students whose program does not include the GED before he or she can be considered for further special training in the GED use. Again, no mention of any kind of training in any way, shape, or form, even in a general basis, on how to work with a vulnerable population. No training about the proper treatment or how to properly treat these students with respect. No disability awareness training whatsoever. We're just going to throw them in there. And they have to work with you without being properly trained in crisis management, in working with this type of population. But we still require them to, basically, seriously. Let's go on, shall we? Special GED training and testing after 3 months and a minimum of at least 36 shifts of working with students with no training in crisis management. No training in how to work with this particular type of population and the issues that may pop up. No sensitivity training. No disability awareness training. Just 36 shifts, and that's good enough. Dude, what the hell do you think this is, McDonald's? McDonald's requires more training before they allow you to use the grill than you require these people before you allow them to interact with your population of students. Think on it. Really think on it. The staff member is sent back to the training department to receive further special training on GED use. At the end of that special training, the staff member must pass a competency test at 100% level. The test has 2 parts: a practical evaluation of the trainee's actual hands-on skills, and a written explanation. If a staff member fails this test, the staff member must go back and spend another month working with the students who do not include the GED, after which she is once again sent to undergo the special GED training and take the GED competency test. If the staff member fails for a second time to pass the GED competency test at 100% level, the person's employment at the JRC is terminated. Oh my. Okay. So if they fail your test to use your torture device, you terminate them. Everybody wrap your brain around this, all right? If you're a person with a soul and you fail their test because you're not shocking them for things like, thought crimes, you're terminated. So if they do not pass your indoctrination, you don't allow them to work in their school. God, that explains a lot. 1 month apprenticeship. Oh God, here we go again. After a staff member passes both parts of the GED competency examination, he or she is then eligible and required to work as an apprentice to a GED qualified staff member for an additional period of 1 month. Again, we're all about the training with the GED, but I see no training in crisis management. I see no training in disability, sensitivity training. No training in disability awareness. No training in how to treat us with, the respect due to us, of doing so in a manner in which it doesn't come inappropriate. You're training them to only use a machine. And you don't see issues with this? Good God. Qualification to use the GED. At the end of the 1 month apprenticeship period, supervisors of the staff member are asked to evaluate whether the staff member is qualified to use the GED. If there are positive responses from the supervisors, the staff is then allowed to work with the students who have the GED in their programs. And it's not like they are ever going to abuse the power or wrongfully use the GED, because your whole defense about shocking someone for jumping up for longer than 3 seconds is, well, they could be possibly getting aggressive. Or they could be pulling a wedgie out. Or they could be jumping up to sprint down to the bathroom. You do see how this is worse, right? You do see how this is worse. The reason why the staff training has come under such fire, Doctor, is because you are not properly training these people or preparing them for the population of folks that they're going to be working with. You provide no crisis training. You provide no disability sensitivity training, no disability awareness training. My God, do you even make them do the HIPAA certification? You're training them to use a machine. Nothing more. Nothing more. These individuals with no history working in the mental health field, you give them 3 weeks before you make them work with this population. And you think this is perfectly fine, but they are the kids without the GED. Lord help me with this one. Lord help me. Because, Doctor, as awful as your DE device is, that is not the only way these kids are being abused in your school or the residences, when we have video surveillance footage of you beating the hell out of them in their residences. Okay? These people are not properly trained. Most responsible places require at least a good 6 months of training and certifications, as well as actual real-life experience working with the particular population that they are trying to, get the job for, before they are allowed to deal with jobs like this. Your training is inadequate. Your training is a joke. With such poorly trained staff and the Kool-Aid you indoctrinate them with, and you wonder why people are on you. You know, but let's finish this up here, shall we? All GED qualified staff are required to undergo an annual Level 3 certification training. This is a training period in GED use and includes the same GED competency examination described above. In addition, all staff members receive continual on-job training, daily feedback, and quarterly evaluations. At the end of each shift, staff member receives a numerical evaluation, a rating from 0 to 5 on his or her performance on that shift. Any score below 5 must be accompanied with written comment by the supervisor who gave the score. At the end of each quarter, each staff member receives a written evaluation. All staff members are subject to a detriment point disciplinary scheme. You know what one of those schemes are, Doctor? Because former staff members, they've talked. When they're not shocking the students enough. Yeah. Your training is a joke, Doctor. This is not coming from an advocate who's just against you because of what I've seen. It's because of I've worked in this field. Your training is a joke, sir. Training someone how to use a torture device is not the equivalent of individuals who have 6 months of training and certifications, then 6 months actually out in the field working with these individuals before being allowed to work specifically with this type of population. It is not good enough. And the fact that Massachusetts thinks it is makes me glad that I do not live in Massachusetts. And we're going to go ahead and close out on that, folks. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few that we do tend to get removed from time to time. So, folks, please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and don't forget to hit the comments. I do appreciate your time. As always, we here at Spilling Tea do hope you have a good one. Bye-bye, everyone. Hi.